Hello students, let us learn a new topic in biology. Look at these pictures. What you can see over here? You can find students seated in a classroom, and students who are having doubts, they are raising their hands, a lady welcoming guests, and a child eating food. Let's look at the other pictures. You can see some people throwing garbage on the road and the others throwing dust properly in dustbin. There's another picture of a man enjoying. So these different activities performed by human beings, which is nothing but we call it as behavior. Some behavior we call it as good, and sometimes we call it as appropriate behavior, inappropriate behavior, so on and so forth. In the same way, we study even animals' behavior. Animals also behave in a particular way. Different species of organisms behave peculiarly in different ways in different situations. So study of animals' behavior is called ethology. So how do we define ethology? It is a scientific study of the interaction of animals with each other, with other living beings, and with the environment. Interaction of animals with each other. With each other means what? With the animals belonging to the same species. With other animals means what? Animals of other species. That means your organisms are interacting with the organisms of the other species, like how you can see over here in this picture. And the third, it is again the interaction with the other living beings and with the environment. So we also interact, animals also interact with the environment. So animals' behavior is, the study of animals' behavior is called ethology, and it is the scientific study where organisms interact with each other, with other organisms, and with the environment. This is a polar bear which is hibernating, and this is interaction with the environment. That means it is reacting to environment. Organisms show particular behavior, it is because of the stimulus that is present in their nature, in their surroundings, in their environment. What is stimulus? Stimulus means it is any event, any action, we can say any kind of process or anything which evokes action from the organisms. So any event, any process, any phenomena which evokes actions or which arouses organisms into action, into energy. So stimulus is singular, stimuli is plural. There are two types of stimuli, internal and external. What is external stimulus? External stimulus means the stimulus that comes from outside the body. That is outside. Outside the body means we are talking about environment. So anything that makes an organism to react, to respond, that is called as external stimulus. Now for example, you see suddenly as students, you see suddenly principal walking, then what you do? You try to go away from that. So principal is stimulus and you walking away is your response to that. Maybe you're playing when you're not supposed to play. So this is external stimulus. Other examples of external stimulus, weather. If we are talking about animals, then it can be the kind of threat they face from the other organisms, that can be stimulus. Smell, sound, these are the different kinds of external stimulus. Now for example, we can consider cold. Cold is external stimulus. How do you react to that? You try to protect yourself by wearing a sweater, heater, jacket, etc. So that is how you are reacting to it. That is your response to something called cold. Cold is stimulus and you wearing jacket is the answer for that. That is the response. Similarly, we have internal stimulus also. That means stimulus taking place within the body of organisms and us. So what is this internal stimulus? Internal stimulus is nothing but hunger. Whenever we feel hungry, that is taking place inside our body, we want to eat food, we seek food. Similarly, a kind of fear that evokes within us. We have different types of fears. Each one of us differ in our fears. Even animals have their own kinds of different fears. So some are very scared of staying all alone in darkness, claustrophobia, so many different types of fear exist. So fear, threat, any kind of threat that we encounter, we imagine, all these are examples of internal stimuli. So internal and external stimuli make organisms actually to behave in particular way. So all animals' behavior that we are going to study, we are grouping it down under 4 important categories. So as you can see, instinct, imprinting, conditioning, and imitation. What is instinct behavior? Instinct behavior is not the learnt behavior. That means you are not learning. Organisms don't learn this kind of behavior. They get this by virtue of their birth. Because of the way that they are born in a particular species, they automatically imbibe that species characters because of the genes that are present. So it is innate behavior. That means a kind of behavior that organisms exhibit without, that means they display that behavior without prior experience. That kind of behavior is called as instinct behavior. Now, examples of instinct behavior. We don't teach birds how to make nest. Do we do that? No. So birds know. They learnt it because they are birds. They genetically that is present in their body. They know how to make nests of different kinds. How much ever we try to put our brains, we cannot make a beautiful nest. How you can find it in nature, made by birds. Similarly, fishes know how to swim. We don't go and teach them. This is their innate behavior. That is instinct behavior. You can see over here, honeybees, they go and collect nectar from flowers. Nobody is teaching them to do that, but they know. Similarly, you find over here peacock. Now, the different reasons why we find this kind of animals' behavior is to choose mates, to defend themselves from predators, to find breeding grounds, to get shelter, to find food. They display different kinds of animal behavior. So choosing mate is also one of the important criteria why they behave in a particular way. And one such example over here that you can see is peacock, which tries to attract the female peacock through its beautiful plumage. So a female peacock, it gets attracted by looking at the colorful plumage. So different types of behavior is actually seen in animals for these reasons. Reflex action, this is also actually one of the kinds of instinct behavior only. What you can see over here is that there is a girl who is sitting on a table, right? So when you try to sit on a table with the legs hanging freely, dangling down freely, and try to hold the first part of your thigh muscles very strongly, and let somebody try to hit you on that is strike with a hammer just below your knees. The muscles that are there which you actually held very tightly, they start contracting automatically. That is not under your control. So that is reflex action. Let us try to see other reflex actions. Suddenly when somebody tries to flash lights on our eyes, immediately we close our eyes. So these are the examples of reflex actions. Reflex actions are also one type of instinct behavior only. How do we define reflex actions? Let me go to other examples, then we'll understand the definition. When we touch any hot object, we immediately withdraw our hand. Similarly, when we try to prick ourselves, maybe touch by chance any thorn or any needle, we withdraw our hands, our fingers, or any part of the body. So these are sudden actions, sudden instantaneous actions, spontaneous, involuntary actions, where the decision is taken by the spinal cord. Such kind of actions are called as reflex actions, and they actually prevent you from getting any kind of damage. So reflex actions also are inborn, innate instinct behavior. The second kind of behavior that we see in animals is called as imprinting. So as you can see, you can find the hatching of a bird. So this kind of behavior is seen in birds, especially in chicklings and ducklings. When these birds hatch, what they see is most of their times it is their mother. So this kind of behavior is the one where the birds identify the first object after hatching as their mother. So obviously in nature, in natural habitats, the first thing that they see is their mother. So imprinting means identifying the first object as their mother. But it so happens that at times when mother is not available, after they hatch, the first object that they see, it can be any inanimate object like cardboard, it can be a ball, it can be a stone, or any other living organisms like human beings or any other organism also. That time also these birds start recognizing that particular inanimate object or that particular organism as their mother. So this is called as imprinting. Now here is a great scientist, ethologist, zoologist and ornithologist, Konrad Lorenz. He was a person who did a lot of research in the field of animal behavior. So he actually reared a type of bird called as geese. And when these birds, they hatched, the first object that they saw was the scientist himself. So they considered him as their mother, and wherever the scientist went, all the birds followed him. That means they imprinted on him. So imprinting is another kind of behavior seen in animals. The third kind of behavior that we see in organisms, in animals, is imitation. Now imitation, it means copying. You might have heard about people talking about jewelry imitation. That means some pieces of jewelry which looks just like gold. Here we find among animals, monkeys and chimpanzees trying to display imitation behavior. This kind of behavior is seen in apes like monkeys and chimpanzees. So here whatever we do, human beings do, they can also do the same thing. They can copy the same action. So here you can see one person is trying to protrude his tongue out, and obviously monkey is also copying and doing the same thing. You know this particular story, you are well aware of this story, wherein a merchant actually sleeps under a tree. He happens to be a cap seller. So he sleeps one day on the way to some other village under a tree, and there are lots of monkeys there on the tree. Suddenly all those monkeys come down and they take away all his things. They rob him actually, and they start wearing all those caps on their heads. Later on, this person, when he wakes up, he realizes what had happened when he was asleep. So now his main concern is to get back all his caps. He knows very well what monkeys do. They can copy. So he takes out his hat and throws it down. All the monkeys which happen to be on the top of the tree, they also throw down their caps from their heads. So he collects all those and goes away. So this is an example, an anecdote to show that monkeys also imitate, they copy. Similarly, chimpanzees. Chimpanzees, they can just try to take a stick and convert it into a spear. They can imitate the stick into a spear. That means, you know what is a spear? Spear is a long cylindrical structure which is having pointed ends. So even chimpanzees can take sticks which they find in the forest, and either one or both the ends, they can just try to remove the extra stuff of the stick with their teeth and convert it into a spear-like structure, with the help of which they can actually grab juicy grubs, or they can penetrate that particular spear, the stick converted into a spear into the trees, to grasp either any kind of small organisms, babies of the organisms, or juice, anything else. So this is imitation behavior which is seen in organisms. And finally, the fourth kind of behavior that is seen is conditioning behavior. What is this conditioning behavior? Before trying to understand that, let's look at the examples over here. Obviously you understood, we are talking about classroom and school environment. Bell is rung. Bell is a stimulus. When bell is rung, ringing of the bell is the same, but timing of the bell decides the behavior of the students, and students are learned to behave in that particular way. For example, if it is morning bell, then what do the students do? Obviously they actually line up for assembly. After break, whether it is lunch break, small break of 10 or 15 minutes, either in the morning or evening, you find the students get back to their classes for their studies. And if it is the evening bell, they all get back to their homes. So stimulus is the same, but behavior is different. Why? Because students are trained to do so over a period of time. So conditioning behavior is exactly the opposite of instinct behavior. In instinct behavior, what do? It is behavior which is not learned. Automatically you get it, organisms get it. But here it is learnt behavior through experience or through training. Now the person who is considered as father of conditioning behavior is Ivan Pavlov, a Russian scientist. This person performed experiment on dog. He was having a dog which was trained by a trainer, and that means he was a person who used to take care of his dog caretaker. Whenever that caretaker used to give him food, that time a dog used to salivate. Same thing happens with us also. Sight of the food, or whenever you think of the food, automatically your mouth starts watering. Here also, whenever a dog sees food, it starts salivating. That means food is actually the stimulus, because of which it starts salivating. After some days, it so happened that the caretaker, he started ringing the bell. Bell is new stimulus, which had nothing to do with the dog's eating, so it did not salivate. But over a period of time, it so happened that whenever food was served to dog, ringing of the bell went on. So now slowly dog got used to, or it got trained to, it got conditioned to the fact that whenever food is served, that time bell is rung. The dog started associating food with bell, ringing of the bell. After a certain period of time, even though food was not served, only when the bell rang, it still started producing saliva. So this is because of the fact that it got conditioned to the new stimulus called bell. But sometimes stimulus can be wrong also under classical conditioning, conditioned behavior. Sometimes stimulus can give wrong signals also. Now another example of conditioned behavior, grazing animals, suddenly if they come in contact with, whenever they are grazing, if at all they come very close by to fence which is supplied with electricity, and suddenly they touch, they experience shock. So with that experience, that means they got an experience, they got a clue, they got hint that they should not touch those wires, that particular fence, otherwise it will again experience that. So this kind of trained experience is conditioned behavior. Now let's talk about human behavior. Human behavior is quite different from animals' behavior. Why? It is because our behavior is very complex. It is because of the fact that our brain is highly developed. Though we are very small in size, when we are made to stand next to an elephant, still we are very smart, we are very intelligent. It is because of the fact how our brain developed over the process of evolution. So we are very intelligent beings. That means we can control our feelings, we can know what is going on in others' mind, we can actually mask our own behavior and behave differently. Because of all these things, because of the consciousness of our own self and the surroundings, there can be change in our behavior. Our thinking, our behavior might not be the same. So we can fool anyone around. Now, let's try to understand the same principles of behavior with regards to animals and how it is different in case of human beings. We live in society, we are bound by society's rules. So we know that whenever you are hungry, as we have studied in internal stimulus, whenever we are hungry, we obviously want to eat food, so we'll grab food for eating. When you are all alone, you can do that. But suppose you have invited a group of people and you are with a party of 4 or 5 members. That time, do you start eating, leaving others? Then that would be called as not cultured behavior, right? What do you do if you are the guest or if you are the host? You see that everybody is seated, then all of you start eating at the same time. So this is kind of behavior which is quite different from the instinct behavior what we have seen when you are all alone or in case of animals. Conditioning behavior. Animals' behavior, when you talk about conditioning, it is almost the same over here also. Advertisers and people who are there, business people and people from marketing areas, they try to use conditioning behavior in order to make their products very much popular. How they try to do is, all of us actually very much are impressed with the celebrities. So any kind of product that they take, they try to assign any kind of celebrity along with it. So whenever the product is being sold, along with that there is a public figure or great admirer or role model seen or celebrity seen. Let's talk about conditioning behavior. People from business world and marketing field, they try to get into the field of advertisement so that they can bring about the concept of conditioning over here. What they do is they try to take popular figures, celebrities, and assign them along with their product. So whoever is impressed with the celebrity, they also tend to buy this particular product. This is how people are actually conditioned to buy things, whatever it is which is available in the market. Not just with advertisements, but we find that we are conditioned even in our day-to-day lives. Whenever we see traffic signals, whenever you are there near any junction and you see red light, we are being trained to stop over there. So this is one type of conditioned behavior. Similarly, whenever national anthem is sung and whenever we find wherever hoisting of our national flag goes on, we stand over there in attention position. So these are all examples of conditioned behavior which we see in human beings. Similarly, there are other examples of conditioned behavior. For example, we are being trained that whenever guests come, we should take care of them properly. And when people are standing and when we are sitting, we are being taught to stand up. So these are all examples of conditioned behavior. Imitation. Imitation is seen even in human beings. Generally, young children, youth, they get carried away by celebrities. So imitation actually is both harmful and useful. Imitation is harmful when children go with adopting hairstyles or dressing sense of the others, whomever they endorse or whomever they consider as role models. But in doing this process, whatever their role models do, whichever is a bad habit, they pick up that also, which is not good for them and for the society. But imitation, copying others, is good also in a way. For example, we try to take great freedom struggle fighters or great leaders, scientists. When we try to look at them as our role models, then students can also gain whatever are positive qualities in them and try to build their own career, which is good for them and for the society. So imitation is both harmful and useful in case of human beings. Now, so much we have studied about animal behavior. How did we get to know so much of knowledge? It's because of the relentless efforts done by great researchers and scientists, which is nothing but investigating behavior, that is examining their behavior. So these people, that means scientists, researchers, discoverers, they try to get into forest, into different habitats and try to collect data. In one case, they can get into the areas and do the observation there, which is called field observation, that is in natural habitats, or otherwise they can get the concerned organism to their labs, to zoos, and try to study them. So it is either observation in labs or it is field observation. But the difference is that when you are observing in nature, that is field observation goes on, then it is in natural habitat. That means you are not controlling any factor over there. You are observing the things as it is and studying them. Now, tagging is another technique which is being adopted by the scientists to study about animals and organisms. What they do over here is that electronic devices are tagged or attached to the bodies of the organisms, and wherever these organisms move, it is tracked and its movement, behavior, it is studied. Especially useful even when the migratory birds, they go from one continent to another, or even aquatic organisms, whales, which travel half of the sphere of the earth from North Pole to the equator. How these organisms behave, how they take the journey, what are their breeding grounds, we can get to know a lot with the help of these tagging devices. Dear students, what did we learn on the whole today? We have learned the definition of ethology, which is nothing but the scientific study of organisms, stimulus, response, types of animal behavior, which are of 4 types, why human behavior is complex, and what is tagging. Animals' behavior, as I mentioned earlier, is governed by 2 important factors which has evolved over a period of time. So what are those 2 important factors? One is the anatomy and the other one is physiology. What is anatomy? Anatomy is nothing but it is the study of the internal structure of organs, study of internal tissues that make up organs. So this is also called as microanatomy, or it is also called as histology. So how organs, their functional aspect is called as physiology. So organs, how they evolved over a period of time, and the function of these organs, these 2 actually help organisms to behave in a particular way. Now, for example, we know that Siberian cranes, they travel all the way from Siberia to our country. So you find their breeding grounds here in India in important places like Pulicat Lake. So for flying all the way this particular distance, they need to have strong wings, and that is why those birds have well developed musculature and wings present. So anatomy, that is the structure, internal structure, and physiology, the functional aspect, these 2 are important in the way how these organisms behave. So in the same way, we know that fishes live in water. Why fishes live in water? Because they have the structure that helps them to live in water, and that is fins. Similarly, fishes breathe through gills. So gills are there, that is the reason they are able to survive in water. What about we? Can we do that? No. That means our behavior, whatever is there, or animals' behavior is there when we are talking about. So definitely it is governed by 2 important aspects, and that is anatomy, and the other one is the physiology, the functional aspect of all these organs. Now to sum up, so what is ethology? Ethology is the study of the organism's behavior, animals' behavior in particular over here. Animals' behavior means what? We try to understand how they move, how they interact with each other, how they try to get food, protect their resources, their breeding grounds, how they choose their mates for reproduction, how they try to defend themselves from predators. All these are different aspects which is studied in ethology. So how much of information that we have, all this is because of the contribution made by great scientists. We should really be thankful to the relentless efforts put in by our great scientists. So dear students, I feel that one fine day even you will become great researchers and try to go around the world, get into the oceans, go to polar regions and try to study different aspects of organisms, life, diversity of life, and try to become great discoverers on your own. Because of these organisms and the scientist discovery, we could find out how these honeybees, they tried, or for that matter ants also, how they try to locate food and convey the information to the others. See, they don't have language. We people are great because we have evolved, and as I mentioned earlier, we have language to communicate with each other. Honeybees, they don't have language. How is it that still they communicate with each other? Where food is present, they go and get it. The way they perform dance, that is being conveyed to them. So this much of information today we are having served ready on plate, but behind this it is the scientists and their great efforts and their hard work. Animals' behavior is different from human beings' behavior. Yes, we have 4 different types of behavior, what we have studied in animals. Instinct, yes, instinct is their innate behavior. We also have our innate behavior, but reflex action, it is the same whether it is animals or it is us. But then when you talk about certain behavior, we don't try to behave like animals because we are governed by society's rules. So this is one important aspect, that we are staying in society. It binds us. We cannot behave in a savage way as these animals can do, because we are having brain, we have evolved in a particular way. So we are bound by certain rules, structure of the society, structure of the family, structure of wherever you are present. It can be school, or it can be an auditorium, it can be a theater. You cannot behave as you like. So society's rules govern you. That is where actually our behavior differs from animals' behavior. So when you talk about conditioning, this is one important aspect when it comes to human beings, because we can be actually conditioned either to become good human beings or bad human beings. But again, it depends upon, yes, we get every type of conditioned behavior being imposed on us from various aspects of our society, coming from different angles that you face in your society. From newspapers, you get different things you get to know. From media, from your friends, from society, from school, from different angles, so many things to learn. But what affects you, what you should be conditioned to, that is left up to you. Not the negative things which should actually get inclined towards going on the wrong direction, getting deviated and spoiling your life. That should not be the criteria. You should find all good examples and get conditioned to do good things. Try to see that you will take good habits of the others. Try to imbibe that and get conditioned to that, building your own stamina, whatever it is, relentless hard work, whatever it is, not giving up. Failures are the stepping stones for success. So try to take positive things from the people and try to come up. When you try to look at so many people that you find in the society, how they faced hardships and came up in their lives, and how they serve the society. So we have to take those particular aspects and imbibe in our lives, but not get inclined to the negative aspects of the things and try to spoil our life and even making our surrounding very bad by our presence with that particular behavior. So obviously animals' behavior is different from us. They are behaving in a different way because they don't have language. They have small brain, that they are limited to that particular thinking only. They can't go beyond that. But we are human beings, evolved in a different way. We have to show. So it is our duty to take care of these animals also, our responsibility towards this particular society, towards diversity, biodiversity. We have to take care of them. The important aspect of learning animals' behavior is to know that we study about them, how they behave, and give protection to them, not to actually exploit them, not to try to kill them and take all the things, whatever we want from them. No, the purpose is to see that we give protection to them. So if we know the behavior of the animals, oh, this animal can be behaved in this way, that means we have to protect it in this way. Their breeding ground should be protected. We should not spoil environment, water, marine water. We have to know all these things so that we can protect them and take care of them. The very purpose of knowing animals' behavior, studying, is actually to see that, to understand that we are only a part in this biosphere. We cannot control biosphere. One living species cannot live on this planet all alone. we should live in harmony with nature, with other species, with animals. So for that reason, we need to understand animals' behavior. Whatever are concerned related worksheets, please go through them, download and complete the given worksheets. In the next class, we will continue with the next part of this lesson.